Welcome back everyone to another episode in our devlog series for Windshire. Last week we focused mostly on gamepad support, but this week we had a ton of fun implementing the new character model. This week has been focused on implementing the new character model by Excelsius Games. It was really fun and just a really interesting process of implementing the new animations, bringing the character to life, but this doesn't mean it's completely done. We still have a bit to go before he's set in stone and completely playable. We didn't really implement any of the bow animations or anything like that because I wanted to take it little by little because I didn't really want to get overloaded and lose motivation over this whole quarantine situation that's kind of odd. So I mostly focused on the melee side of animations this week and just getting that all situated, and it's really cool and just really interesting. So watch out next devlog when we implement the whole range mechanic back in. My first task of this week was just kind of to gather some animations for the player to use as placeholders, so I usually just went about, I found a couple that would work in the sense that I was looking for in my head, so I got and downloaded all of them and started implementing them into Unity as soon as possible. I started out with just implementing the one where he doesn't have any weapons equipped, because previously it all looked like he was having a sword and a shield equipped when he could have a bow equipped or something like that, so I wanted to make sure that wasn't the case this time. So I found some that was just some standard idle walking and running animations that I really enjoyed, and I implemented them. The next thing I had to do was actually make it so when the player didn't have anything equipped, it would correctly show in the weapon selected that neither one of them was equipped and neither one was highlighted. So once after getting that all sorted, I had to do some reworking on how I did equipping just to make sure there wasn't any bugs. I got that all sorted and it was working perfectly. Next thing I did was just search around for some melee animations that he again could use as a placeholder animation, and I found some that I really enjoyed, so I got them in and I started implementing the locomotion side. The biggest thing I was really heart torn about is, should we use root motion for these attack animations? On one side, the root motion would allow for more complex animations, but in the other side, programming would allow us to correctly move the character based how far we wanted to with numbers instead of having to bake the motion into the actual animation. So after a long thought, I really just wanted to get into root motion, and I thought this was a perfect opportunity, so we decided to go with root motion only for the attacks and the rolling and stuff like that, while all the running, jumping, and other stuff like that would be handled on the programming side, so we didn't really have to do too much. This ended up being the correct choice after all, just due to the animations feeling way more fluid and just way better in general, just because of the actual animations taking the movement and moving it forward. Towards the middle of the week, I really did a bunch of debugging and just trying to get my code to work as best as possible, and this included making sure the rolling and stuff like that would actually be compatible with the scripts we have. Since we decided to use root motion, I had to go back and kind of remove some code that allowed the rolling to take place in code instead of during the animation. I also had some issues where the animation wasn't correctly playing or being portrayed due to the humanoid rig we have set up for the player, but I forgot to set them up for the animations too, because the way it all works is that they both have to be humanoid and you have to do a couple of readjusting to make sure they work correctly. I also had to go through and just make sure all the root motion wasn't affecting any of the Y scales or the Y axis, just due to us having a constant force pushing down on the player to make sure he doesn't feel too floaty. So that was causing a bunch of bugs until I realized that. And also the rolling didn't actually roll on the ground until I also figured that it was being affected on the Y axis and it was pushing the player up, and it was just causing a weird bug. The next thing I really did that week was actually set up a ragdoll for the player. I was randomly just messing around with the ragdoll system in Unity, and I just decided to add one to the player, and then I realized when you ever turn off the animation, that's when the ragdoll takes place, and I just thought that was really funny, and just I love keeping that in, and I'm going to be setting that up for the enemies future on when we redesign the enemies once again, because the enemies are something I always keep coming back to, but I want them to feel right for this game, to make sure that they feel the way I wanted them to feel in the very beginning, and it's going to take a lot of work, but I definitely think this rework will be the last, and will make sure that all these animations work together and they become really smooth and really interesting to play against. The last thing I really did this week was just set up the final attack animations for the player. I didn't really do this because I was setting up all the roll and the jump animations, for one for standing still and one for jumping and running and stuff like that. And I finally got to the attack animations and I was having a blast setting them up. Now that the animations are in, instead of having one heavy attack or something like that, we have these combos where if you left click and you hold left click and you let go, it's going to perform a 3-chain combo, and it's going to be really cool. Also, if you left click and hold after that and you let go, it's going to perform this other animation, and I just think all these animations work together so smoothly, and it's just going to make combat feel so much better once we get the enemies correctly implemented. On my previous video, I had this comment requesting to kind of showcase what the game is going to be in the future and kind of show you guys the roadmap and what we're thinking the game is going to be in the future. So I kind of wanted to take some time this devlog and just explain to you guys everything about the game and the future of it and what we're planning. So last phase, as you guys know, it was mostly kind of a vertical slice of the game. It was going to have the player, the inventory, the AI, all of that stuff working together with a nice map and sound effects and music, all working together to just really portray what this game wants to be. Phase 2 is going to continue doing what Phase 1 did best, and that is going to be refining the combat, making sure it feels really impactful and really nice, and that's kind of what we're doing right now. In addition, is going to be completely fulfilling what we want AI to be. We don't want AI to be these like punch bags where you just go around hitting them and killing them, they don't really attack. We want to go for a mix between like something along the lines of a Shadow of War, Shadow of Mordor, with a mix of Dark Souls, where they are actually a very intelligent AI system where they react to your attacks and stuff like that. So we want to mix those two and kind of create a custom AI system. Not really custom, it takes inspiration from a bunch of different games, but hopefully we're going to get that all finished up in this phase. The last thing we wanted to finish up in this phase is going to be different NPCs and especially quests. That's the third biggest thing this phase. That's kind of what we're planning Phase 2 to be. Phase 3 is going to go back to the roots kind of again, and it's going to go back to combat. We are going to be implementing the combat abilities. There's going to be different abilities for every type of weapon system. So there's going to be about 3 or 4 abilities for the melee attacks, and there's going to be 3 or 4 for the actual ranged attacks. And that's kind of what we want Phase 3 to focus on, is just really refining and adding more onto the actual combat system. And this is where we're going to add in finishers and stuff like that, so the combat feels really crisp and really professionally done. And Phase 4 is going to be kind of the last phase, and this is going to be really finalizing the story, as we've been doing the story throughout all the phases. We've been planning it little by little, but Phase 4 is really going to hit the story really hard and just really strongly. It's also going to hit a bunch of the world building aspects. We're going to get all the world to look and feel alive, and we're also going to be just focusing on polishing up every single system in the game and making sure they're to the peak that it can be. And that's kind of going to be the biggest systems in Phase 4. It's just really the story and the player and getting all these NPCs to feel alive and important in the game. So that's a brief overview. I'm probably going to be making another video going way more into depth of these 4 phases and exactly what we want to hit in each phase. So if you guys are interested in seeing that, hit a like and comment down below exactly what you want to see in that type of video where I explain exactly what the game is. I can go into the story that we're thinking this game will go into and kind of give you guys just some back end to what exactly is going on with the game, so that can be kind of a standalone video that I can make later on. And that's going to be wrapping up this video for this week. I had a ton of fun just working on the game this week, and I can't wait to see what it's going to be in the future. And I just wanted to thank you guys for the extreme support recently. We're about at 1,000 subscribers, and it's crazy that only a few weeks ago we were at 500, and it's just crazy that you guys are continuing to support and just smash that like button on every single video I upload. And I wanted to thank Inconspicuous once again for being the very first Patreon supporter and pledging enough money to name a NPC in the game. So if you guys are interested in that, the Patreon link is in the description below. I also want to give a big thank you for all the donations on the itch.io page. We got a couple of donations. I just want to say thank you guys for all of that you guys are supporting the game there too. If you guys are interested in playing the game, the download links are in the description of most of my newer videos. So once again, just go down there and try out the game and let me know what you think. That is just phase 1, and phase 2 is going to be completely different. Well, not really completely, but it's going to be a very big upgrade, so I can't wait to show you guys all that. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next video, and thank you guys for watching.